Hello, I'm Michael Morgan, and welcome to Retro Book Reviews, where today we're going to be reviewing The Art of Living by Epictetus, a new interpretation by Sharon Labelle. Uh, and this is the classical manual on virtue, happiness, and effectiveness. Now, for those of you who may not know who Epictetus was a Roman Stoic philosopher. In fact, he's one of the major influences of Roman Stoicism, along with Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. And I first came across Epictetus and Stoicism just by happenstance. One day I was out running some errands, and I was listening to the Jim Rome show. And the Jim Rome show it's a sports talk show, but he had Ryan Holiday on this particular show as a guest. And Ryan Holiday, he's written several books about Stoicism, and I have one of his books I may review on a future date. But just what he was talking about, it sounded very interesting to me, and I started doing a little research, and The Art of Living is one of the first books of Stoicism that I've read. And I would say at that time I was going through a difficult time in my life, and with Stoicism that really helped shape my faith. It kind of helped me reshape my thoughts as to what I was going through and the circumstances I was facing. So it just helped it kind of helped set the ship right, so to speak. Now, The Art of Living was not written directly by Epictetus. This book comes from teachings that Epictetus' student Orion wrote down, and what Orion wrote down became the basis for Epictetus's two more well-known works in the Enchiridion and Discourses. And so I would encourage you to check those out as well. Now, before I get into the book, I just want to give a little background about Epictetus himself. Now, of course, as I said, he is a Roman Stoic philosopher, and the sources vary, but Epictetus was born either in 50 AD or 55 AD, and he died either in 130 AD or 135 AD. Again, the sources vary. But we do know that Epictetus was born on the far eastern reaches of the Roman Empire, and he was born into slavery. Now Epictetus eventually earned his freedom, but it came at a cost. Epictetus received frequent beatings from his owner, and which crippled one of Epictetus's legs. But however, after he earned his freedom, Epictetus eventually rose up and he started his own school of philosophy. And so Epictetus speaks from a position of experience and authority with what he's discussing here, because fortunately a lot of times what we learn in school may not have any real world application to it. It may just be just an abstract theory. It may just be just an academic exercise. But Epictetus, he lived his philosophy, he embodied it, and he also taught his philosophy from the perspective that the average person could follow these precepts and live an effective and happy life. And even if we face obstacles, even if you face those worst situations, the teachings of Stoicism can help us change your perspective. I mean, of course, it doesn't. We just become oblivious to life's problems, but this helps us shape our way, just as faith can shape us through hard times. Now, there are some common themes that Epictetus touches on in the Art of Living, and the first one that he discusses throughout the book is knowing what's in your control and what's not in your control. Epictetus writes, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not. It is only after you have faced up to this fundamental rule and learned to distinguish between what you can and can't control that inner tranquility and outer effectiveness become possible." So the question becomes, what is in our control? According to Epictetus, our thoughts, our opinions, our desires, and our responses to situations are well within our control. So, so, so what kind of things would be outside of our control? Well, you would have no control over the time that you're born, the family you're born into, whether you're born into wealth and privilege, or whether you're born into poverty. So those we'd have no control over our status in society, or even what people think about us. And Epictetus and the Stoics in general have referred to anything outside of our control as an external. And we should not mind ourselves with the externals, or the things that are out of our control, as we should work to being the best person that we can be. And then Epictetus also added that if we try to take control or change things that are outside of our control, we'll end up being miserable people. Just how somebody acts, you can't control that. Or if you try to be nice to somebody who's just not nice to you, you can't control how that person acts or responds to things. And kind of go along with what's in our control and what's out of our control, another thing that Epictetus brings up is the importance of minding our own business. Now, in the age of social media, it's easy to get caught up in everybody else's business because everybody's business is out there. You just look at someone's Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media platform that you use. People are just an open book. And they talk about things that they really shouldn't talk about on a public platform or over the internet. And it's just kind of like what we used to say back in the 90s, that's a TMI, that's too much information. Too, and just as people, we have a natural curiosity about what's going on, and sometimes we worry about what other people are doing or what they're talking about. And the only thing that results from getting involved in someone's business or not minding our own, we just end up getting in all these petty fights. Feelings get hurt. It ends up being just a toxic waste of time. We see this with politics all the time. So what if your neighbor voted for this person and you voted for this candidate? Who cares? It's their business. If your neighbor wants to eat hot dogs on the third Tuesday of every month, well, that's their business. Why's that concern you? They didn't invite you. If they didn't invite you over for hot dogs, let me eat his hot dogs in peace. It's the same way with everything. Is that we just try to influence have a negative influence on people's behavior. We try to change them to meet our expectations. If we have, I experience this at my day-to-day job, is that, people are always complaining about this coworker or that coworker, what this person said. I'm like, if you're at work, just do your job and go home. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Just mind your business. You keep an eye on what you're doing. Don't worry about them. Because there's an old Hank Williams Jr. song from the 80s called "Mind Your Own Business." Because if you mind your own business, then you won't be minding mine. And too, Epictetus spoke to this, talked about, this is a direct quote here, to keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and not yours. He goes on to say, if you do this, you will be impervious to coercion, and no one can ever hold you back. You will be truly free and effective for your efforts. For your efforts will be put to good use and won't foolishly squandered on finding fault or opposing others. So if I were to put it bluntly, if you want to soar with the eagles, you got to stop flopping with the turkeys. So it's just so just focus on what your task is, what you're there to do. Don't join the crowd when people start running somebody down or running a situation down. I know I've fallen into that trap times myself. But you just got to keep focus on what's your business, the task in front of you, and don't worry about what's going on outside of your control. And one of the ways that we manage how we see things is that we have to manage our perceptions. And our perceptions are well within our control, or how we interpret events. And or as Epictetus would use the phrase, seeing things as they are. We've all been in disappointing situations. Things don't always go according to our plans. I mean, sometimes, unfortunately, relationships end, marriages end in divorce. You might take a bad turn with your health, or you may lose a loved one to bad health. Your finances can just can be gone, wiped out with a bad market turn. Everything that you worked for your whole life can just be gone just like that. You could lose your job, get behind in your bills. Whatever the circumstance is, that we all go through hard times and disappointments. And hard times and disappointments will always find us. It is fortunately part of the human condition. If you haven't been through hard times yet, you probably will be at some point. Not to speak anything negative over your life, but we all have to deal with hard times at some point. And so it is how we manage our expectations during those hard times, or during those events that just rock our world, so to speak. And Epictetus states that the way we deal with hard times is to manage our expectations and see things as they are. Now, when something, Epictetus says, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. Because what really frightens and dismays us is not external events themselves, but the way in which we think about them. It's not the things that disturb us, but our interpretation of their significance. So that's one thing. It's your perceptions are well within your control. Your responses are within your control. In fact, it was I believe Henry Ford had said that life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond. And so whatever you're going through today, or whatever you faced in the past, just manage your expectations and just manage your perceptions of the event itself. Okay, another point that Epictetus makes in the book is to be selective about your entertainment. We live in a world of streaming, the internet. I mean, you have tens of thousands of things that you can watch at any given time. You can get on Netflix. You get on YouTube. You got video games, TV shows, movies, books. I mean, you name it. There's just a plethora of entertainment options out there. But however, just because we can watch something doesn't mean that we should watch it. Now, I'm not talking about like avoiding all entertainment, but to be more selective about what we watch, because it can have an effect. It will have an effect on your mind over time. And Epictetus, who lived in the first and second century AD, he chose to be wary of popular entertainment. As Epictetus said, most of what passes for legitimate entertainment is inferior or foolish and only caters to or exploits people's weaknesses. Avoid being one of the mob who indulges in such pastimes. Your life is too short and you have important things to do. And Epictetus added, if you yourself don't choose what thoughts and images you expose yourself to, someone else will, and their motives may not be the highest. So that is why we have to be super vigilant about what we watch, what we're listening to, because over time it will have an effect on us. It seems like that is a big cultural fight right now. Is what people are watching, what messages are being brought across in popular entertainment, and just in everyday life. So we have to guard our, as the Bible says, to quote the book of Proverbs, we have to guard our hearts, for out of it spring the issues of life. We have to guard our hearts and we have to guard our minds. And also this, of course, I won't go through the entire book, but another theme that Epictetus brings up is to practice gratefulness. We have to be grateful. We have to choose to be grateful. Epictetus says, practice having a grateful attitude and you will be happy. I've always believed that happiness is an inside job. Nobody can make you happy. You have to choose that for yourself. There's no amount of money that's going to make you happy. No house, no car. It's not even people's job to make you happy. Contrary to what you believe, you have to choose the happiness for yourself. And so one way that we can grow in our happiness is to be grateful for what we have, to be even grateful for what we've been through. It may not have been pleasant. You may have been dragged through it kicking and screaming, but we always have the option to be grateful for where we are right here, right now. Because truth be told, you're probably a lot better off than you were back then. Because sometimes the good old days they weren't so good. We look back in hindsight. Okay, and just to close up here, I highly recommend The Art of Living. It's written in a practical, straightforward language. It's easy to read. You don't have to ever take a philosophy class or be a philosophy major to understand it. It is this particular edition is 113 pages, so it's very, very short. Some of the topics are just a couple paragraphs. There's only a few sections. So like this section here, there's just a few short sentences. There's only a few sections of the book that go over 2 pages. So if you have the time one afternoon, you can read the whole book, or you can use this. It's short enough you can make it a daily devotion if daily devotions are your thing. And I just really thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy this review. As again, just hit the like button, subscribe for future videos. You can just get in contact with us through the comments, or you can reach the show at retrobookraeviews@gmail.com. And I thank you for your time, and God bless you.